Hi, my name is Agat from Made by Gootie. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to work the square version. You can find the rectangle version on the PDF pattern. It's available on Ravelry and Etsy. I will link everything below. This stitch creates a very soft and nice fabric. It's great for washcloth or blankets or even a nice table runner. So just use your imagination. I'm using the Lion brand Kobo yarn. I recommend using a natural fiber like cotton or bamboo to create a very soft fabric and to get the perfect texture. And I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook with a worsted weight yarn. You can use whatever yarn weight you want with a suitable hook. And I recommend using stitch markers to mark the beginning of each row. It will help you find it at the end of the next row. Okay, so let's start. So let's begin with row number 1. I'm using a US terminology. So start by chaining 4. Then we will work a wattle stitch into the first chain from the hook. This is the first chain that you made. A wattle stitch consists of 3 stitches, single crochet, chain 1 and double crochet, all worked into the same stitch or space. So start by working single crochet, then chain 1 and a double crochet into the same chain. Okay, so we have the beginning chain 3 and the wattle stitch into the 4th chain. So again, this is single crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet. And now we will turn. Okay, so we will chain 3. And I recommend place a stitch marker around the chain 3 to help you find it in the next row. And now we will skip the first double crochet stitch and we will work into the next chain 1 space. So start by working a single crochet into this space, then chain 1, and now we will work a large bean stitch into the same space. So to work a large bean stitch, we will insert the hook into the space, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we will yarn over, insert the hook into the same space and pull up a loop and repeat 2 more times. This is like a regular bean stitch with another repeat of yarn over. So now we will have 8 loops on the hook, okay, because we repeated the yarn over 3 times. So yarn over and pull the yarn through all 8 loops. So this is your large bean stitch. Now we will skip the next single crochet and work into the chain 3 space. We will work a wattle stitch, so work 1 single crochet, chain 1 and work a double crochet into the same space. Okay, so this is it for row 2. Okay, so we are continuing to row 3. Turn your work and again chain 3. And again we will skip the first double crochet stitch and work a wattle stitch into the next chain 1. Okay, now we will skip the next single crochet stitch and work into the top of the large bean stitch. So again we will work a single crochet, chain 1 and another large bean stitch all into the top of the bean stitch. So work 1 single crochet, then chain 1 and work a large bean stitch again into the same stitch. So insert your hook and yarn over and pull up the loop. Now repeat 3 times of yarn over, insert the hook into the stitch and pull up a loop, and repeat total of 3 times until you have 8 loops on your hook. Then yarn over and pull the yarn through all loops. Now we will skip the next single crochet stitch and work a wattle stitch into the chain 3 space. So again, if you're not familiar with this method, I really recommend use a stitch marker to help you find the chain 3 space. So work a wattle stitch. And this is it for row 3. We have 2 wattle stitch and 1 single crochet and a large bean that are separated with chain 1. And now we will continue to row 4. So turn your work, again chain 3, skip the first double crochet stitch and work a wattle stitch into the next space. Now skip the single crochet and work 1 single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean into the top of the bean stitch. Now skip the next single crochet and double crochet stitch and work a wattle stitch into the next chain 1 space. Now skip the next single crochet and work another wattle stitch into the next chain 3 space. Okay, so this is it for row 4. Turn and continue to row 5. Now again, chain 3, skip the first double crochet and work a wattle stitch into the next space. Now skip the next 2 stitches and work another wattle stitch into the next chain 1 space. Now again, we will skip the next single crochet and work 1 single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean stitch into the top of the bean stitch. And then we will continue by working a wattle stitch into the next space, the chain 1 space. And into the next chain 3 space. Okay, so as you can see, we have 2 wattle stitches on each side of the work. And now we will continue to row 6. Okay, so again chain 3 and work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Now work 1 single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean into the top of the large bean stitch. And now work wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces and then into the chain 3 space. Okay, so in this row we have 2 wattle stitches, then single crochet and large bean, and 3 wattle stitches on the left side. Okay, moving on to row 7. So in this row we're again starting with chain 3, but now we will start by working into the first chain 1 stitch, chain 1 space. We will start by working 1 single crochet, then chain 1, and we will work a mini bean stitch into the same chain. So insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, then yarn over again, insert the hook again and pull up a loop. Now you will have 4 loops on your hook, so yarn over and pull the yarn through, and this is your mini bean. We will work a mini bean only in the beginning of the row, so we will create smooth edges for the square. Now we will continue by working 2 wattle stitches, work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Then work a single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean into the top of the next large bean stitch. And continue by working a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces and then into the chain 3 space. Okay, so this is it for row 7. Now we will turn and continue to work row 8. Again, same as row 7. We are starting with chain 3 and then we will work a single crochet, chain 1 and a mini bean stitch into the first chain 1 space. So work single crochet, chain 1, then a mini bean stitch. So again, pull up 1 loop, then yarn over and pull up another loop, and with 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull the yarn through. Now continue by working a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 stitches, then work a single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean stitch into the next large bean. Now work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. And now we've reached the mini bean stitch, so we're skipping the single crochet, and we will work into the top of the mini bean stitch. We will work 1 single crochet, then chain 1 and a large bean stitch into the top of the mini bean stitch. So again, work a large bean stitch. Okay, so now we will skip the next single crochet and work a wattle stitch into the chain 3 space. Okay, so this is it. As you can see, we have a beginning of mini bean stitch, then 2 wattle stitches, a large bean, another 2 wattle stitches, then we are continuing with a large bean stitch and then a wattle stitch. So in general, the bean stitches are separated with 2 wattle stitches. Okay, so let's start row 9. Start by chaining 3, then work a wattle stitch into the first chain 1 space. Then we will start the stitch repetition. Start by working into the top of the large bean stitch, a single crochet, chain 1 and then a large bean stitch. Then continue working into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Work a wattle stitch into each of the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Repeat these stitches until you reach the chain 3 space. So let's begin. Work 1 single crochet, then chain 1 and a large bean stitch into the same top large bean stitch. Then work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. And repeat one more time. Okay, now that you've reached the mini bean stitch, work 1 single crochet into the top of the stitch, then chain 1 and a large bean stitch again into the top of the same stitch. Now skip the single crochet and work a wattle stitch into the chain 3 space. Okay, so let's move to row 10. Again, chain 3. And start the row by working a wattle stitch into the chain 1 space. And then work a single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean stitch into the top of the large bean stitch. So now again we are skipping the next stitches and we will repeat, we will start the repetition of this row. So the repetition will be working a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces, then work a single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean stitch into the next large bean stitch. You will repeat it again until you have only 1 wattle stitch left in your row. So let's start repeating. So work a wattle stitch into the next chain 1 space and into the next one, then work a single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean stitch into the top of the large bean stitch. Now repeat again. Now that you've reached the last wattle stitch, work a wattle stitch into the chain 1 space and then into the chain 3 space. Okay, so this is it for row 10. Turn your work and start row 11, again by chaining 3, and work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Now work a single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean stitch into the top of the large bean. And now we will start the repeat section. Repeat these stitches again, work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces, then single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean stitch into the top of the large bean until you have only 1 wattle stitch left in your row. So let's repeat. Okay, so now that we've reached the last wattle stitch, work a wattle stitch into the chain 1 space and into the chain 3 space here. Okay, again turn, continue to row 12 and chain 3, and we will start by working a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. And now we will start the repeat section. Work a single crochet, chain 1 and large bean into the top of the bean stitch, then following with a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Repeat until you reach the chain 3 space. Okay, so when you reach the chain 3 space, work a wattle stitch into the space to finish the row. And then turn to continue to row 13. Okay, so chain 3. And we will start this row by working a single crochet into the chain 1 space, then chain 1 and a mini bean stitch. So as you can see, we already have 2 wattle stitches here, so it's time to add another bean stitch row. So work a mini bean. Okay, so when you have 4 loops on your hook, so pull the yarn through and then work a wattle stitch into the next chain 1 space and into the chain 1 afterwards. So work 2 wattle stitches before we start the repetition. So now for the repeat section, again we start with working into the top of the large bean. So work a single crochet, chain 1 and then a large bean into the top of the large bean stitch. Then follow with a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Then repeat these stitches until you reach the chain 3 space. Okay, so when you reach the chain 3 space, work a wattle stitch into the space to finish the row. And now we will continue to row 14. So chain 3, and we will start the same way as the previous row. So work a single crochet into the chain 1 space, then chain 1 and work a mini bean into the same space. Now work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Then again for the repeat section, work into the top of the large bean, single crochet, chain 1 and large bean all into the top of the large bean stitch, then follow by working these 2 wattle stitches and repeat until you reach the mini bean stitch. I will meet you there. So as you can see, I reached the mini bean stitch, so we will work into the top of the stitch the same as before. So work a single crochet, chain 1 and work a large bean stitch all into the top of the mini bean stitch. Now skip the single crochet stitch and work a wattle stitch into the chain 3 space. Okay, so this is it for row 14. So to repeat this section, to keep increasing, repeat rows 9 to 14 until you reach the desired length of your work. Then make sure to finish with row 11 before you are continuing to decrease. Okay, so just before you start decreasing, make sure that you finished your increase section with row 11. Then we will start working row 15. So start by chaining 2, not 3, we are chaining 2 to decrease. And here I highly recommend place a stitch marker around the chain 2 space to help you find it in the next row when you decrease. So we will start the repeat section. We are working a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces, then again work into the top of the large bean stitch, work a single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean into the top of the stitch. Repeat working the stitches until you have only 2 wattle stitches left in the row, don't work into them. So let's start. Again, chain 2 and work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Then work into the top of the large bean stitch, single crochet, chain 1 and another large bean stitch. And repeat the stitches until we have 2 wattle stitches left. Okay, so I reached the last 2 wattle stitches in the row. So start by working a wattle stitch into the next chain 1 space, and then we will decrease. So skip the next 2 stitches and work a single crochet 2 together into the chain 1 and the chain 3 spaces. So insert your hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then insert your hook into the chain 3 space, again yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull the yarn through all 3 loops on your hook. And this is how we decrease, and you can see that we formed a corner. Now we will turn and we will continue to row 16. So again we are starting with chain 2 from now on, and skip the first single crochet 2 together and the next double crochet stitch, then work a wattle stitch into the next chain 1 space. Then work into the top of the large bean stitch, single crochet, chain 1 and another large bean. And now we will start the repeat section. work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces, then work into the top of the large bean stitch, single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean, and continue until you reach the last 2 wattle stitches, and again don't work into them. So we will start repeating by working wattle stitches into the next 2 chain 1 spaces, then work a single crochet into the top of the large bean stitch, chain 1 and a large bean stitch, and repeat the stitches again until you have only 2 wattle stitches left. Now I will meet you at the end of the row. Okay, so now as the same as the previous row, when you reach the last 2 wattle stitches, start by working a wattle stitch into the first chain 1 space, and then we will decrease. So work a single crochet 2 together into the next chain 1 space and the chain 2 space. So if you are having trouble finding that chain 2 space, please use a stitch marker at the beginning of each row. So we are starting row 17 and chain 2, skip the first 2 stitches and work a wattle stitch into the next chain 1 space. Then work into the top of the large bean stitch, single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean stitch all into the same stitch. And now we will start the repeat section. Work a wattle stitch into the next of the 2 chain spaces, and then work into the top of the large bean, a single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean. Now repeat these stitches until you have only 1 wattle stitch left in your row, and then we will decrease into the chain 1 space and the chain 2 space. So repeat these stitches and I will meet you at the end of the row. Okay, so when you reach the end of the row, we will have 1 wattle stitch left, then work a single crochet 2 together into the next chain 1 space and the chain 2 space, and then we will start row 18, so chain 2 and skip the first stitch, and now we will work into the top of the large bean stitch. So work 1 single crochet, chain 1, and the same as in the beginning of the increase row, work a mini bean stitch into the top of the large bean stitch. And now we will start the repetition. So work 2 wattle stitches, then work into the top of the large bean stitch, as usual, a single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean stitch, and repeat these stitches until you have only 1 wattle stitch left, and we will decrease into the stitch. So let's start. We are working 2 wattle stitches, then into the top of the large bean stitch, single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean, and repeat the stitches until you have 1 wattle stitch please don't work into it. I will meet you at the end of the row. Okay, so again we have one wattle stitch left at the end of the row, and we will work a single crochet two together to decrease into the chain 1 space and into the chain 2 space. Now turn and we will start row 19, so chain 2, and work into the top of the bean stitch, the large bean stitch. Same as the previous row, we will work a single crochet, chain 1 and a mini bean, and work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. And now we will start the repeat section, work into the top of the large bean stitch. Again, single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean. And work wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. This is your repeat section. Continue working until you reach the mini bean stitch. Don't work into the last chain 1 space, we will decrease into it. Okay, so we reached the end of the row and we have the mini bean stitch. So we will work a single crochet two together into the chain 1 space and into the chain 2 space, and we will turn and we will continue working row 20. So chain 2 and work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. And now we will start the repeat section. Again, work a single crochet, chain 1 and large bean into the top of the large bean stitch, and then work 2 wattle stitches. Repeat until you have only the mini bean stitch left, and then work a single crochet two together into the chain 1 space and the chain 2 space. Okay, so I finished row 20. As you can see, I've worked a single crochet two together to decrease into the last chain 1 space and the chain 2 space. And now we will turn and start row 21 with chain 2, and we will start right away the repeat section. So skip the first 2 stitches and work a wattle stitch into the next 2 chain 1 spaces. Then work again into the top of the large bean stitch, single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean. And repeat the stitches until you have only 2 wattle stitches left, and I will meet you at the end of the row. Okay, so we reached the end of the row and we have 2 wattle stitches left. So work a wattle stitch into the next chain 1 space and then decrease into the other one. So work a single crochet two together into the next chain 1 space and into the chain 2 space. Okay, so to continue decreasing, repeat rows 16 to 21 until you have only 3 wattle stitches and 1 large bean stitch left in a row. Make sure to finish with row 21, then we will continue to row 22. Okay, so when you have only 3 wattle stitches left, as you can see I have 1, 2 and 3 and the single crochet and large bean in the middle. So continue to work row 22. So let's turn and work chain 2 and work a wattle stitch into the chain 1 space. Then work into the top of the large bean stitch, single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean. Now work a wattle stitch into the chain 1 space. And decrease, work single crochet 2 together into the chain 1 space and chain 2 space. Now turn, let's work row 23, chain 2, skip the first 2 stitches and work a wattle stitch into the next chain 1. Now work at the top of the large bean stitch, single crochet, chain 1 and a large bean. Now decrease in the next chain 1 and chain 2, work a single crochet 2 together. And we will turn to row 24, chain 2, start working into the top of the large bean, work a single crochet, chain 1 and a mini bean, and work a single crochet 2 together into the chain 1 space and chain 2. Now turn again to row 25, chain 2, skip the single crochet 2 together and the mini bean stitch and work a single crochet 2 together into the next chain 1 space and chain 2. Now turn again and to finish off, chain 1 and slip stitch into the chain 2 space. Okay, this is it. As you can see, this pattern is reversible. It looks the same from both sides. You can find the full written instructions on my blog made by Gootie. I will link everything below. Leave a comment and let me know what you thought about this pattern, what you're going to use it for, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you!